Here at Stop My Crisis, I'm Vivian Gaspar, and I have with me Holly Pring, broker owner of Exit Realty Group of Bernardsville, New Jersey. Holly has been a broker in New York and New Jersey well over 30 years, and she is a designated expert in helping distressed homeowners, and also is a mother and grandmother of 12, and is also a wonderful Lions volunteer. Holly, I appreciate you coming to join me and to help my viewers understanding what's going on with the housing crisis and what they can do about it. Tell me, what have you seen as a broker and as a designated expert? What's going on with the housing crisis still? And New Jersey is #1 for foreclosure, for regular and zombie foreclosure. Zombie foreclosure, of course, is when the banks are using such horrible tactics to scare people out of their houses. What have you seen in over your 30 years of dealing with all this?
Well, and unfortunately, the housing crisis that we're still under is still very much going on. As you mentioned, I was a broker, an active broker in New York, approximately back in the early 90s and the mid 90s. We went through a very similar experience. And every place I would drive around, there was homes being boarded up.
Wow.
Foreclosures happening, and unfortunately what topped it off was the fact that people were getting the sheriff come to their home if they were still residing in the house with an eviction notice.
Are you kidding? That actually happened? I mean, you always see about this stuff in the TV and the movies. I didn't know you actually saw this.
Oh, I've witnessed it on numerous occasions. This is back in the time in New York. So going through this back then, and this was not only in one neighborhood, this was in all neighborhoods. It was in middle class and upper class families as well. So that was extremely frightening. So what happened was I had a lot of people, because I had 7 offices at the time.
Wow, 7 offices.
Yeah, 7 offices.
You're quite the staff.
Oh, definitely.
No, experiences.
And 7 offices in addition to a mortgage company. So I had a lot of homeowners contacting me and asking me if I could help them. Now, keep in mind, this was quite some time ago. There was no such thing as a short sale back then. So I would contact on their behalf the lenders and talk with them, and we'd brainstorm. I would talk with the bank attorneys, and we finally came up with some form of a solution versus having families just thrown out of their homes all the time. Called it a short at that time, and so here we are now in today's market. And it's interesting because I just heard recently some statistics on 101.5, which is a radio talk station, where New Jersey's #1 in the highest real estate taxes in the nation.
Right.
We're #1 with the most families moving out of the state due to the high cost of living. We are one of the highest with the unemployment rate. However, we're the last, #50, with the form of a recovery going on currently.
How many people have you helped? I mean, you've taken on such an active role that most other realtors in your position haven't.
I would say close to over 1,000 families throughout the 2 decades.
Wow!
You know.
So an average family has around 3 or 4 people in a household, right?
Well, don't forget the little kitties and the doggies. Their housing gets disrupted too with all this too.
Oh yeah! So we're talking at least 4,000 individual people, including the kids, and about half of people have dogs and cats. So wow, you've actually helped probably over 2,000 dogs, cats, and 4,000 people.
Unfortunately, yes. But
Where's your key?
I wish I could have. I know I should get that superwoman.
You're superwoman, the super broker. It's amazing what you've done.
Well, you try to do your best to help families. I mean, it's all about people helping people. That's always been my motto, and I feel, and you know, in today's market, bringing you up to currently from the past. There is so many short sales and foreclosures happening still currently in our state, especially because that's where I'm predominantly doing most of this anyway. And the difficult part of it is that families are nervous. They have no idea what's going on. They're scared to death. They're frustrated. And what I'm seeing is the lenders are overloaded, understaffed, overwhelmed, and underpaid. So this has created a tremendous problem that we're now going through with this. So therefore, what happened, I think it was about 3 years ago, that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac implemented a law back in June. I think it was in 2012. And what they did was, because of the delays and how long it's taking to do a process of a short sale, they imposed a mandatory file ruling that once a full package is received by the lender, the negotiator had 30 days, as long as it was a complete package, had 30 days to give a response to the homeowner, and the homeowner got 5 days.
You're right in the same category as me,
Mm-hmm.
helping people through this. And I've seen the same thing. I've worked for attorneys this whole time, and I've helped 350 families, so I know exactly what you're going through,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously for not as long a period of time. But it's the same thing. We're seeing the similar problems that the banks, aren't they rejecting the packages or saying they're incomplete?
Well, that's the unfortunate part. When they implemented that ruling, in the beginning it was effective, it did work.
Right?
Although what I find very difficult to comprehend, and I get baffled at it, is that it's to justify the incompetence and the negligence on their behalf, and keeping in mind they're overloaded. However, that's always the answer. They're missing documents, and the process would take forever. And so, and on a short sale, and I'm sure with the loan mod, it gets to the point where the short sale, a buyer walks after a certain period of time.
They have to.
Because
They
they get
can't just wait
frustrated.
around, right?
If they got their rate locked in, the rate's going to expire. There's a lot of variable reasons. However, but that seems to be the number one answer in every situation, is missing docs. So that's unfortunate.
Do they also make it harder with the system that they accept the documentation? You said, I believe you told me earlier that they accept FedEx packages. You send it incomplete, and they're claiming they didn't receive it complete.
If some of the lenders are working with the software system, which I have to upload all the documents, and it goes through this whole procedure and then a list of everything, and asks some questions that are totally not relevant, and it lacks human speaking to one another. I think a lot of the negotiators hide behind the software program that's not user-friendly. The other method is FedEx.
Correct.
When I know it's a complete package, because I've done this enough times to know exactly what the lenders want, and prior to sending it, I go through a checklist with them and ask them, what exactly does your system require? Certain financial statements is different on each different type of program. And the other way is fax. Fax, I find, is probably not the smartest way to go, because it's all smudgy. I have my own theories. Okay, part of my thought process is that the amount of times that the negotiator will tell me they're missing a doc, and I very nicely, because I'll become a pit bull if I have to.
Oh, good, you're really fighting hard.
I definitely, you have to.
You have to be really aggressive to get this done.
And sometimes you form a decent relationship with the negotiator, or sometimes I feel like I'm talking to a wall. However, it doesn't pay to argue. Do what they need. My bottom line is to help and represent the homeowner as best as I can. But answering your question, I often feel they are pushing for foreclosure versus a short sale.
So
they'll go through the motions, except they don't follow through with what they say on all of them.
So out of these 1,000 families that you've helped, what do you think that your success ratio has been? Because I believe you said it was quite high, because you're really aggressive. You're the pit bull that gets it done. You're the hero broker.
When you have to be a pit bull, you've got to. But I could be a little puppy dog when I need to be as well.
Well, you're a puppy dog to your clients and
Always.
a pit bull to the banks.
Oh, they're so nervous, and so much dysfunction, which we'll talk about, I guess, in a little bit. However, I find that they are definitely looking to foreclose the person on most of the cases. Perhaps it's a monetary reasoning behind it. I don't know the answers, but I just merely speculate on half of it.
So your percentage is rather high. You think you're over.
Yes.
What percentage are you successful with those over 1,000 cases of people who came to you?
I have had only two.
Two out of 1,000 you couldn't help?
Out of 1,000 families. Two
What happened
that did
with
not
those?
close. Well, that one particular one, when I arrived at the home, there was a husband and wife and their 2 children. Their children were teenagers. When I walked through the door, you could feel the tension. I would cut with a knife.
These
just
families
to
deal with.
Oh, it's heartbreaking.
I've seen people
That's
crying
heartbreaking.
when I walk in the door.
It's heartbreaking.
They just can't stop, and they feel like they're
Exactly.
getting sick from what they have to deal with.
It's
And you're seeing
sad.
this.
So I walk into, well, I'm using one example. I walk into the one that didn't close, that didn't do the short sale. The wife, when she was showing me around the house, the husband was home and he was very argumentative, extremely.
With you or with the wife?
With the wife. With the
Okay.
wife. But you could feel that there must have been an argument prior to my entry. I could just feel the tension. She's showing me the home. She pulled me aside and she said, look, I apologize for my husband, but he's extremely verbal. He's not who he used to be, and it's driving everybody crazy. She's showing me the home, opened up to the bedroom doors in one of the rooms. The sun, it was a gorgeous day outside. The shades were down, sitting in the middle of his bed.
How old was he?
I mean, he was approximately 15 years old.
Oh, do you think he was depressed or just playing on the video games?
Very depressed.
Oh, he was visibly a depressed
Visibly,
15-year-old?
facial expression to me. And she told me that the father is just losing it.
Do you think that meant the father was getting a little abusive with the whole family because of the stress
That's
on
what she
him?
indicated.
Oh,
And
wow.
hearing it myself with the way he treated her in my time that I was there, he would snap at her, yell at her. So anyway,
Stress.
there was a lot of abuse. And so the reason that one didn't close, we got a full price accepted offer. The bank was willing to go with. The owner was, it spited himself in the long run. He was so angry with the lender and how much torment it put he and his family through that he decided to foreclose because he figured it would be spiteful to them and cost them more money.
Wow, what is the worst situation of stress caused? Because now we even have the situation of zombie foreclosures. You know, zombie foreclosures where the mortgage companies, they just want the people out as fast as possible. So they'll just scare them out of the house. Is that what you've seen too?
I'll give you a couple examples. There was one home in particular, the mother called me hysterical on the phone. And she said, now I'm in the office and I'm, caught off guard. And I said, what's the problem? And she goes, I don't know what's going on with this lender. The bank went to my house and this mother was at work. The bank went to my house and my daughter called me crying, saying, there's this man at the house, and he said, I have to come inside and take pictures. I'm from the bank. And
How old is the daughter?
I think she was about 10, 11 years old.
So the bank is sending someone to the house harassing a 10 or 12-year-old?
He refused to leave. He didn't go inside because she didn't open the door.
Oh, thank God.
He walked the grounds, though, for another half hour.
That still must have been very scary for a young girl. These latchkey kids, the parents don't have a choice. They're already in financial hardship. So
impressionable.
these poor kids
Very
are
impressionable.
now dealing with the stress brought on by a mortgage company. That's insane.
When I called the bank, they denied it. They said that that wasn't authorized by us. I know it was. Well, how else would this bank go there?
Did they call the police?
The little girl called her mommy. Her mommy came home. By the time she came home, nobody was at the house.
But that's still terrifying.
It's
the mortgage companies, they don't care the impact what they're doing. And now this poor girl, she could need therapy. I mean, not to mention all the other aspects that could happen with the stress inside the home normally. Now imagine if the husband's pissed off when he comes home or whatever is going on. That
I'm the
must be
tail
so
end.
angry.
I'm the tail end when I come into the homes. It's usually at that point.
Oh
So
my God.
the buildup that the families go through is horrifying. Another situation.
These are real tragedies.
Oh, some of them are just awful. Another situation I came to the picture, the homeowners called me, an elderly, sweet couple. The husband's a retired state trooper.
Oh, that's the cop. That's the cop portion of it.
And he was handicapped due to the fact he had major surgery, and he became confined to a chair.
After all the years of public service.
Exactly.
Wow.
And here he is, an old school family. The home they built, they had their children grow in the house and have their weddings there. They lived there for a long time, but unfortunate hardships with the medical. So he took ill, and then it left her at the helm. And now they're old school. So the old school mentality is the husband did everything. So now all of a sudden she's at the helm. She immediately picks up the phone, starts to call the bank, and the bank specifically told her. Now this family's in their 80s. Okay?
In the 80s?
Yeah. The husband's 86 and she was like 82.
Did they already had these health issues, or do you think it was exasperated by dealing with the bank?
Her health got deteriorated
And she was
due to
already
the
his
bank.
caretaker.
Yeah, and so the bank told her, and she said she wanted to fix everything, and they specifically said to her, pay the arrears or get out. And if you don't get out, when we foreclose, the sheriff will make you leave the home.
A bank told an 80-year-old lady this?
80-year-old woman. That woman panicked and freaked out so much that, don't forget, she was never at the helm. She was not the stronghold. However, she ends up packing up her husband and she in their car, took whatever fit in their car, and they went to a place where the budget, assisted living within their budget. When I came in the picture, the house had already been vacant 2 years.
Oh. Wow.
And so it's still not foreclosed. But she just panicked and freaked because of what the bank said to her.
Absolutely. She had a right to panic.
I don't blame her.
When some stranger, because of course the old-fashioned mentality was for the mortgage company to be seen as they're all endowed. They are who it is. They're the ones in charge of their life. Unless their house is paid in full, their mortgage company could still be dictating their life. They're running scared. They don't want to be homeless, and now they're at that age. It's terrifying.
I couldn't
that no
agree
one
with you
mentioned
more.
What to do.
Between going through this with children, elderly, and that particular situation, that home, eventually I did get through the system, although that was after the bank neglected the property. Here it's vacant, neglected the property. They did nothing with the property. They tried to have it supposedly winterized. The crew that went there never winterized the
Did
property.
they send a plumber, like a real certified plumber, to do this winterizing?
Who knows? It was just people that were from the bank. They broke the sump pumps. The family had 2 sump pumps. When the rains came, so did the water came in. So this house sat vacant for 1 year with 3 feet of water in the basement.
And their personal possessions were still in the house?
They lost all their personal, everything
And
had
all
mold.
their
At the
memories?
clothes, their whole life, everything. They're
And this is
thankful
because
to get out of that.
the banks pressured them.
Oh.
They didn't have to do that because the house was still not foreclosed on.
They tormented
That is one of the
them.
biggest tragedies is when banks are lying to people and telling them they have to leave when they truly don't have to yet.
These people could have stayed there the whole remaining time. I just closed on this property 3 months ago.
I think
and it
that's
was
a huge
vacant for a
tragedy.
total of 3 years. Between the year that they stalled, the lender sold the loan off. When it came to a new servicing company, they at least had some decent human compassion. That's the only reason. Not only did I get it closed, I also got that family released from any and all obligations where there was no judgment. They got a personal release
It's
from
like these
everything.
banks are above the law. If a
That's-
human being treated you the way that the banks treated these people, they would have been arrested for harassment. They could have had something happen to them. So the banks are allowed to do this to people, and what are the ramifications? What is their punishment?
It's such a very good question, Vivian, because the reality of it is I have another situation where this is recent, literally recent. I put a home on the market. The family came to me when the house was with an auction date, which means it's scheduled
Sheriff's sale.
for, yes, it's a sheriff's sale. So what happened is every homeowner has 2 opportunities to do a postponement, which can be a maximum of maybe even 30 days from start to finish. The house had an auction date within, it was about 5 or 6 days. They came to me, I told them that to go get their first extension. Put the house on the market within 48 hours. I got an all-cash offer on the property,
that's
which
great.
is fabulous for a short sale. No contingencies, which means that the buyers were waiving any and all inspections,
That's
which is
miracle.
also unheard of.
Right.
The house was in absolutely great condition. The family had been fighting for 3 years prior to do a loan mod and got the runaround. I've had known we could have done something back then for that portion. However,
That's
they
what I
came,
get the people. They need a modification.
Exactly.
They go to you when I can't help them.
Exactly. But they came to me so late in the game. But to
yes.
get an offer within 48 hours of listing the property was fabulous.
Amazing. These are miracles.
I know. Somebody up there was helping, but anyway, what happened was had the offer, submitted everything, spoke to the lender. The lender said I was missing a doc, which I'm so used to that. I resubmitted everything, called to confirm, got confirmation they had a complete package because I said, with the foreclosure lurking around the corner, will you please do an extension while you're going through the process of reviewing the short sale? He said to me emphatically, yes, once we have a complete package, which they did, then the ball dropped. I called, I had sent certified letters. The attorney representing the sellers also sent certified letters. No one to speak to. The day before the foreclosure, the day before, the bank calls the owners and said, we are really sorry, but we have to move forward with the foreclosure because it's an incomplete package, you're missing
That
documents.
doesn't even make sense. There was an offer to sell. Well, thank
Exactly.
you, Holly. This was very much a pleasure. I appreciate it. And please tell me, what is the one thing you want my viewers to remember as someone who's helped over 1,000 families? Give me one takeaway real fast.
Real fast, tips, contact your attorney and make sure it's a real estate attorney to find out what stage and level you're at, and then go to work on to save your home, a loan mod. If you do not qualify, then call somebody that's a short sale expert that knows how to navigate through the system.
And
thank
most
you for having me.
importantly, stay in the house. Never let them bully you
Never.
into a zombie foreclosure. Don't forget, last year, 2015, in New Jersey, 3,997 zombie foreclosures. Don't be 3,998.
Exactly.
Thank you, Holly.
Thank you.
Hazardous chemicals. Could you be exposed at work? Employers are required by law to train you on the hazards of chemicals you work with, how they could harm you, and how exposure can be prevented. For information, go to njwec.org or osha.gov. This message brought to you by the New Jersey Work Environment Council.
Welcome back to Stop My Crisis. And I'm here with Harry Herbst of Harry Herbst and Associates. He's a health, life, and disability insurance broker for over 30 years. He's also a Vietnam veteran. Thank you, Harry, for your service. And as well as heavily involved with the Invalid Veterans Association organization. And Harry's here to tell us all about what's going on with the Affordable Care Act, as well as all the aspects of health insurance and how it's become a burden on a lot of families.
Well, the Affordable Care Act, commonly called Obamacare, really has caused a hardship for small business owners. I call it the Unaffordable Care Act. And small business owners are really hemorrhaging. And as we said, they've taken a situation where business owners were in difficulty and they made it even more difficult. And the reality is when someone has their own policies, their own groups, and they're spending $5,000 a month and they get a renewal, and the increases have been about 15 to 20% a year. So if you had a
That's substantial, 15 to 20% a year?
Well, it's even in certain cases, it's even more than that. And let me give you an example. Unfortunately, everything is age rated. So if you have a group that's over age 55, they've inadvertently really taken the people that are older are really getting bombarded. So if you have a 58-year-old or a 62-year-old, the rates are really extremely difficult. So what happens is, if they can't afford it, they sometimes drop the insurance or they water down the plan. What I mean by that is that they have a high deductible, they have high co-insurances, they have maybe a 50% surcharge in a hospital. So now someone, let's say, has the gallbladder removed, they spend 4 days in a lovely New Jersey hospital, and they walk away with a $75,000 bill, okay? But their insurance carrier is only paying 50% of that. So now they're responsible for $37,500 in my example.
Let me ask you this. This sounds to me that there could lead to age discrimination, because if it's age rated and the company, the employer, is taking on more cost or perhaps a burden having older employees, do you think that ever leads to having their older employees let go because it's a burden to the health insurance at the Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act?
I do agree with that assessment, and it's unfortunate. I'm not an elder law attorney, but yes, it is discrimination. The mindset, though, is that a proverbial 55-year-old will cost them more because he has pre-existing conditions. He's generally speaking on more medications. He may be a diabetic. He may have elevated cholesterol, hypertension. So as a result, they feel they're paying more money to insure that 55-year-old as opposed to a 35-year-old.
So have you seen this happen? Have you seen the companies discuss with you that they have to age out or to let go for any other reason? Maybe they make an excuse to get rid of their older employees to keep their costs down?
All the time.
Oh,
and
wow.
yes, I've seen it quite often. In addition to that, keep the medical costs down and the salary. Sometimes they can replace a 58-year-old with a 32-year-old and pay him half what they paid the 58-year-old. So yes, I've experienced that.
How about the actual business owners themselves? If they're now taking on these additional costs that you've said through Affordable Care Act or the Unaffordable Care Act, you've seen the actual premiums go up and the expenses to the business owner. Does that actually force the business owners to choose between personal expenses like their mortgage or other aspects, perhaps college tuition for their kids, and being able to continue their health insurance premiums?
Can't begin to tell you the stress that causes business owners. And the answer is yes. In many cases, sometimes they can't afford the health insurance, so they discontinue it. And because in cases that they're older, then they contract something that's unfortunate. Let's say they contract something deplorable like MS or something that's debilitating, and they don't have health insurance, or they don't have adequate health insurance. They become a burden on the state. And not only that, a small business owner, business sometimes goes down. And not only does the business owner lose the business, there may be 2 or 3 employees that are now put on the rolls of unemployment. So yes, I've experienced that firsthand.
Have you ever seen them have to close their doors to their business and go get regular salary jobs to be able to continue their health insurance?
I have.
And they had to lay off employees in the process?
I have, but take a look at this scenario. So now you have a 58-year-old, he's got a lot of experience, but who's going to hire a 58-year-old?
So you're saying that the Affordable Care Act has caused such a burden that it now skews unemployment rates in addition to causing undue hardship on business owners?
The stress that's caused about business owners are being devoured, first of all, with salaries, the second line item of benefits, and their cost is going up and up and up. And the cost of being a small business owner, even with physicians, I insure quite a few physicians, and I've noticed physicians, they're telling me that they can't afford a small practice. If they're a family physician and internist, many cases they've taken a position with a hospital because they can't afford to keep their practice going any longer.
So let me ask you this. You deal with most of your clientele. Who is your demographic? Do you have most of your clients being any particular, are they business owners, or who do you see as the most?
What I affectionately call mom and pop businesses, a lot of them in the trades, auto repair people, auto body people, but I come across a lot of different types. I don't specialize in one particular discipline. It could be an IT company, it could be a CPA firm or a law firm. Unfortunately, they've been equally adversely affected in many situations. So it's a cross-section. I mentioned physicians, I mentioned dentists. Dentists are having a very difficult time, very competitive environment to be a dentist in New Jersey today.
Well, let me ask the one more question that's really important in my mind. Housing. How has the personal income that they could flow from their business as a business owner been affected? I mean, have you seen, you interact and you create a rapport with your clientele? Do you see perhaps caused by the hardship financially causing divorce, maybe domestic violence, besides the fact that they're worrying if they can pay their bills, perhaps has it caused a foreclosure? Any other severe hardship personally because of the Unaffordable Health Care Act that they have to deal with?
I have. And it causes all of the above. It causes divorce, it causes a lot of tension, it causes bankruptcies, it causes foreclosures on homes. I've seen an example. I've had someone who unfortunately contracted cancer, didn't have adequate insurance, was in debt for about $250,000, had to cause bankruptcy.
$250,000?
Doesn't take that much today, Vivian. The cost of a hospital is about $17,000 a day, more than the Four Seasons Hotel. Unfortunately, was contracted with cancer, with stomach cancer, and it was really a horrendous situation, Vivian. First of all, he didn't have any insurance, so it was very difficult for him to find a physician. They didn't want to treat him because he didn't have insurance. They knew they may not get paid. So it was difficult from that point. He finally did get the treatment that he needed, but he's in a repayment plan, Vivian. It'll take him, forgive my humor, he'll have to be reincarnated to pay all these bills back, but it'll take him, without exaggeration, about 30 years.
Did that cost him anything personally? Did he end up getting a divorce? Or
he got a divorce, it alienated, he lost his home, he lost his business. And it's not an isolated situation today. If you can't afford what I affectionately call a 100% plan, even if you get a 50% plan, some insurance is better than no insurance whatsoever. So you really need to indemnify yourself. Being uninsured today in today's environment, especially if you're younger in your 50s or 60s, I know today the new 60 is the old 30 or something like that.
Is that wishful thinking, though?
But you need to be proactive, and you need to you need to be basically cognizant of what the costs are. If someone's on prescription medication, for example, they're on Lipitor to monitor which is very common, to monitor their blood pressure or the cholesterol. They have to be proactive. I hear it all the time. The cost of medication. Wow, pharmacy charged me $180 for one medication.
I heard, though, that pharmaceutical companies might be able to help people with prescriptions for hardship is if you go directly to the manufacturer. Is that true? Can that help somebody?
That can help a great deal. And also what helps is if you're on maintenance medication, if you can get a 90-day supply as opposed to a 30-day supply, that can help as well. And make sure that you're insured, and make sure that you're not uninsured, and have a good broker that really takes care and advocates for you, which is what I do.
Right. I've known Harry over 15 years, and he's helped my family. So give me the website for your firm and how people can reach out to you directly.
They can reach out to me at www.harryherbst.com. My email address is info@harryherbst.com.
Give me your phone number one more time, your 800 number.
800-598-3003.
Coming and sharing your knowledge with my audience.
Thank you.